Good day, and welcome to today's PPC Operationalising Strategy Forum. PPC is a South African cement manufacturer established in 1892 and is listed on the JSE. PPC is a leading supplier of cement, aggregates, ready-mix concrete, and provides technical support to its customers. PPC operations are centered in Southern Africa with established presence in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. The company has 7 integrated cement plants, 5 grinding stations, 27 ready-mix plants, and 1 lime factory. In 2012, PPC began significant international expansion, branching into Ethiopia, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC). The company's international drive has been described as opportunistic and lacking a clear logic. It has faced considerable challenges including macroeconomic risk, cultural and administrative complexity, and a lack of capital for growth. By the end of 2021, the company's share price had fallen significantly. Despite the recent setbacks, PPC leadership is focused on stabilizing the business and developing a new strategy for growth. The company worked to stabilize and address its existential crisis, navigating the aftermath of the international expansion, which decimated shareholder value and increased the lack of capital for growth. South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. These are the PPC traditional markets and have a long history and deep presence. While the company faces ongoing challenges in Zimbabwe, such as the currency instability and the liquidity problem of the US dollar, it remains the largest cement maker in the country. Botswana is noted for its political stability and economic prosperity, making it a reliable market. Ethiopia. The market has a large population and growing economy, but it also presents a high level of complexity and risk due to new cultures, multiple languages, and conflict in the Tigray region. In Rwanda, PPC holds 51% of shareholding in Simerwa. The company had to overcome an engineering hurdle and logistic problem with a virtual warehouse system. PPC has engaged in non-market strategy of building schools to gain goodwill and social license to operate. In DRC, PPC has 69% holding in PPC Barnett Cement, which is a JV, which provided a major financial drain. Due to a legal agreement, the South African parent company had been obligated to cover the shortfall in DRC, resulting in millions of dollars of cash outflows. The company paid a significant amount of money to separate DRC balance sheet from PPC. PPC did not have a structured way to investigate new geographies and new ventures. The choice of DRC and Ethiopia was primarily based on size. Additionally, there was no geographic sequence to choosing these countries, and definitely no talent management in place. To help PPC do a better job in terms of doing their homework done in these markets that they want to pursue, the CAGE framework helps us in understanding the distance across cultural, administration, geographical, and economic dimensions. This is helpful to organizations to understand the territory that they would be entering into and assess where they have the necessary tools to play there, instead of being surprised once they have committed. Similar to the CAGE model, the CARP focuses on new venture. This helps the organization assess how fundamentally different would the organization need to be to deliver the new offering. For example, focusing on channels, activities, resources, and partnerships. The ideal would be for the organization to be able to leverage its existing channels, activities, resources, and partnership for the new venture. PPC should prioritize growth in existing, well-understood markets of South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, before venturing into new geographies. Growth in new existing markets. These markets, particularly South Africa, have low per capita cement consumption compared to the global average and a strong link to GDP growth. There is significant potential for growth tied to new housing construction, which is a key driver of cement demand in emerging markets. Moreover, the company has expressed a desire to improve relationships with the South African government, which could unlock new opportunities. The company has also demonstrated success in adapting to the challenges of Zimbabwe and earning loyalty from its staff. When looking at risks, as the disastrous DRC venture shows, new market entry carries significant financial, legal, and operational risk. The initial expansion was done in an opportunistic way, without enough due diligence, which the company has criticized. It is also expensive to transport cement over long distance, and PPC jump into distant countries like Ethiopia and the DRC was questioned. In terms of recommendations, in assessing potential new markets, Tanzania appears to be a promising market for PPC expansion, offering a balance of growth potential and relatively stable environment compared to the company's past ventures. The 6-factor model in this case study assigns Tanzania a strong structural growth prospect score of 5.5%. This is higher than most other countries listed, including PPC's home-based country in South Africa with a 2.6%, Botswana with a 3.8%, and Zimbabwe with a negative 2.2%. PPC's leadership considered Nigeria as a potential destination due to its sheer size. However, the new CEO and his leadership team ultimately decided against expanding into the market because it was already quite saturated. This suggests that the company's previous strategy favored entering into underserved markets with less established negative 2.2% competition. The immediate focus should be on making existing operations work like clockwork and building strong investment case to convince the board of a solid foundation for future growth. Furthermore, when looking at the local competitive landscape, the DRC cement industry had an overcapacity of 2.3 million tons versus the demand of 1.2 million tons. This made it very hard for PPC to gain market share. When looking at the local customer preferences, DRC had low purchasing power, with roughly estimated 60 million people living on less than $1.9 a day, which limited the demand of PPC products. PPC was unable to generate enough cash to service its debt. Additionally, poor infrastructure in the DRC limited PPC's ability to grow and operate efficiently. When looking at the willingness of the company and ability to adapt, PPC faced legal debt obligation in DRC, which impacted PPC South Africa. PPC experienced weak partner relationships, which further undermined its ability to adapt. As quoted by PPC themselves, we fell out of our partners in DRC. Our recommendation is to exit DRC operations given the overwhelming financial and strategic challenges it has faced. The recommendation is also to maintain and improve Ethiopia and Rwanda operations. There are various modes of entry for cross-border ventures, such as licensing or franchising, allowing a local cement firm in foreign markets to use PPC brand formulation and tech in exchange for royalties or franchise fees. Ideal for markets that have great potential but would be required very heavy capital outlay. It would have been a viable option in the DRC should PPC exit that market. Risk in the quality control aspect where PPC may lose control. Greenfield investment, which is building a new plant. This is the least preferred mode as it's only ideal for high growth markets with favorable regulatory environments and social stability, which is a combination that's difficult to find in Africa. Brownfield acquisition involves acquiring an existing plant, ideal for established but underperforming markets. This mode may present legacy issues and integration risk, which PPC should steer away from considering the current DRC issues. Joint ventures. This involves partnering with local cement firms, ideal in markets with high barriers to entry or where local alliances are critical, especially for gaining the necessary permits. This mode allows for the shared risks and profits and can be heavily considered by PPC. Exporting. This is the most preferred mode for PPC, ideal for high growth markets such as Tanzania, with favorable regulatory environments and social stability. PPC can use direct export from its base countries into Tanzania. This will heavily rely on transportation methods, which we'll speak about in the later slides. It requires minimal capital outlay and allows for market testing, which is critical in African markets. The risk is low and it makes use of existing capability and capacity. There are various transport methods that PPC can choose from in their expansion into Tanzania, but the most ideal would be to use export by sea since it's a coastal country. It allows for bulk shipping of cement or clinker per ton, and because of its location of harbors, it gives instant access to big cities where the most industrialization would be. This mode is the lowest per ton, and because of its location of harbors, it gives instant access to big cities where the most industrialization would be. PPC should position itself as a trusted advisor. Instead of approaching officials with problems, we must align with national priorities, for example, contributing to infrastructure projects or supporting local content policies. This builds credibility and ensures smoother navigation of regulations. Second, industry advocacy. PPC can play a leading role in the cement and construction associations. By presenting evidence on issues like anti-dumping measures and fair competition, we help shape the industry environment that protects both local jobs and long-term sustainability. In terms of CSR initiatives, PPC must contribute to building its social license to operate by investing in visible high-impact projects like schools, clinics, and road improvements in host communities. These initiatives generate goodwill, turning communities into alliances rather than opponents. And finally, environmental stewardship. We feel like this is the most important. Cement production is carbon intensive. By working with governments on carbon reduction strategies and implementing green technologies, PPC not only reduces the risk of regulation, but also attracts sustainability and enhances its reputation. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the presentation.